Welcome to the second to last episode of the Ticket to Anywhere podcast.
For the year.
For the year 2022. What's up, guys? I'm Trizzy.
And I'm Leah, LA in flight. And yep, you heard that right. Second to last episode of the year. Yeah. But first, we're going to tell you a little bit about what this episode is about.
Yeah, we had our really great, inspiring friend Ed on the episode. You guys might know him from his Instagram account, Itinerant Fan, which is, he just travels for sports, like sporting events. If you guys don't know me and Leah, we are big sports fanatics. Me, basketball, Leah's hockey and soccer, correct?
Yes! Oh my gosh, you got it right!
As I wear a Seattle Seahawks
thing.
Football, sometimes.
She's Seattle through and through, still reps Seattle sports.
Yes.
Right? We've mentioned that in previous episodes. Me, I'm more like sport-based. Really into the World Cup, which I'm so excited that it's starting in a few weeks. Time of recording, we are in the first week of November, so World Cup is coming up soon.
It is.
Yeah, we talk a little bit about it with Ed and really his best advice for traveling really anywhere in the world on attending sporting events, best practices, what to bring, what not to bring, how to get there, best time to look for tickets, all kinds of advice that he has for people who are looking to travel more or travel to their favorite events. He's been to a couple World Cups. He's a huge hockey fan. He has been to he's been to so many stadiums in the US. A lot of stadium tours.
Olympic Games too.
Yes,
Olympics.
Yeah. Which is wild. I don't know how anyone gets tickets to the Olympics, honestly. I know a bunch of friends. I'm like, how? Isn't it a lot? Because it's a lotto system.
Yeah, you need the plug, I guess.
Which Ed is. Yes. Which is why we think if you're a sports fan or even a concert goer, I asked him advice we're local to LA, right? I asked him advice on how to get to the Forum, and he gave me some great tips. So if you're looking to go to a big sporting or music event soon, this is the episode for you.
That's right.
And like we mentioned, since we are the second to last episode of 2022 here, just a reminder, we are taking December off. We'll be working behind the scenes really hard for you. We're not doing any new episode drops. And we would love for you to share your favorite episode this year with a friend. It helps us get noticed, and it helps us and you share the love that we have for travel, share our knowledge. And we love nothing more and appreciate nothing more than you being a part of our community and sharing our wealth. We love sharing our wealth and knowledge with y'all. So please share your favorite episode with your friend. Check out all the episodes we've come out with this year. Don't forget, we are on YouTube as well. And what's coming up?
We'll be back in January 2023 with some big changes.
Big changes.
So keep along, follow along, and thank you again for all your support throughout this whole year of 2022 and even previous years too.
Yeah, we're a little over 3 years into Ticket to Anywhere. 3 years.
3 years.
It doesn't even, I don't feel like it feels that long.
Yeah, seriously.
Right?
It's like we just started earlier this year.
I know, I feel like, we made a lot of really good changes this year and got so consistent with everything. And if you don't know about our consistency, you should know that we drop an episode every other Wednesday besides December's.
Besides December.
But
our vacation
we're
days.
really proud of that. So every other Wednesday, be sure to find us. And with that said, I just wanted to let you know on the day of filming, Starbucks dropped their holiday menu. So my drink of choice for today is the iced sugar cookie almond milk latte.
Yum.
Yeah, it's really good. It's very subtle. And I'm a fan of holiday and flavored drinks. So that is my drink of choice to keep me awake as we get into this episode.
can you adjust like the sweetness?
Oh, 100%.
level?
I
You
always
can.
ask
Okay.
like, well, for this one, like I said, is really subtle, so it's not that sweet. But other ones like peppermint vanilla, for example,
Yeah.
always ask for that half sweet. You can absolutely adjust sweetness
Gotcha.
level. Yeah.
Okay. I was
Mhm.
like, because I know when I order boba, I could adjust it.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, you can't do, I know when you order boba, you can't do like a quarter sweet at Starbucks. That's kind of weird.
Gotcha.
But you could at least do half sweet, which helps.
Okay.
However, you can, so now let's get into coffee mechanics. But this is probably good for those that don't know this. And if you've been watching or listening to the show, you know that I'm a huge coffee fan. I love coffee shops, love supporting small business. But if you know a recipe is like, say, 3 pumps vanilla and 3 pumps of caramel, you could say, hey, I just want 1 pump of vanilla, 1 pump of caramel.
Okay.
So if you know how they make it, you
Right.
can adjust it that way as well.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good to know. I
Yeah.
mean, not for me, but for all
For,
the coffee.
for all you coffee lovers
Yes,
out there.
yes,
And then for the tea lovers, what do we got today?
Okay, well, in my lovely Ember cup that I have,
Ooh.
I love this cup. This is my road trip cup. I just have a peach oolong from Percolate.
Yum.
Yeah, just
I love a
light and
peach
simple.
oolong though.
Yeah, it's good. It's light. You know, it's in the evening. I didn't want to really go super dark. So peach oolong is like the good balance.
Well, cheers to that. Well, cheers to Ed. Cheers to you for hanging out with Ticket to Anywhere. And cheers to this episode.
This is Leah and Trizzy, and we are 2 voices, 2 views, and 2 ways to adventure from anywhere.
We prioritize travel in our lives, and we both travel very differently.
Every other Wednesday, we drop episodes featuring the coolest travelers around the globe, local business owners, community episodes from you, and of course, us, your resident travel lovers.
This is Ticket to Anywhere podcast. Watch us on YouTube or anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Safety Wing is the world's first international travel medical insurance developed to meet the needs of entrepreneurs and remote workers traveling or living abroad worldwide. The Safety Wing Nomad Insurance includes both travel and travel medical insurance, which includes coverage for any travel delays, lost checked bags, emergency response, and natural disasters, plus coverage and access to qualified global network of hospitals and doctors for unexpected medical problems and accidents, and any emergency medical evacuations. You can sign up for Nomad Insurance even if your trip is already happening, or sign up in advance by selecting a future start date. For only $42 per 4 weeks, you can be covered under Safety Wing and its Nomad Insurance. Click the link in our description for more info and to sign up. Safe travels! We got Ed, aka Itinerant Fan, in the building. Ed, thank you for joining us. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Go ahead and introduce yourselves for those who don't understand what Itinerant Fan means.
Yeah. So my gig is sports travel. So my name is Ed De La Fuente. I run a site called Itinerant Fan. It's a sports travel guide for fans who like to travel to see their teams play or just are motivated by sports to want to travel. I started it because of my own goal of wanting to see the 4 quote unquote major sports leagues in North America: the Major League Baseball, the NFL, NBA, and NHL. I'm trying to see every game or every home game for every team in all of those leagues. And so I'm motivated by that. And I wanted to create a site to help other people do something similar. And you know, beyond just the sports part of it or being a fan of a team or a sport, just wanted to inspire people to get out of the house more and see, you know, use sports as a their sports fandom as kind of a motivation to just get out there and see more of the world. So that's the point of my site.
I love it too, because I read a few of your blogs and I find it extremely helpful, especially when you're traveling for an event, but that's one thing to add on your itinerary. It's everybody's so used to seeing this landmark or going to this restaurant, but they don't even think about squeezing in like a sporting event, which in every city, every country, there's always like one big team that they want to cheer on and stuff like that. So you definitely inspired me to kind of do more of that in my travels, and I've done that in the past few recent travels I've been to, supporting the WNBA mainly. But yeah, I've loved your content. I loved all your stories and all your tips and stuff. So we're super excited to have you on. to share a little bit more of your experience through that.
So I was thinking about this on my drive up here, Ed. Like, you are very much destination based as far as like an event to go to, a sporting event to go to. But do you ever do any of the type of travel where you're like, wow, I found a great deal, like a $300 round trip ticket to Scotland. I'm going to jump on it and then find sporting events afterwards?
Oh yeah, a few times. You're right in that a lot of times it's I'm motivated by a specific destination, but there have been a couple instances where the destinations come for or there's a different reason for me to do something, and the sports comes later. And to be frank, sometimes the reason why I do the sports is just so that I have something to write about, content. Like,
True.
I went to Hawaii last year, and that was just supposed to be a vacation. My wife was already there, and so I was like, I jumped on a cheap flight. I flew out there, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna spend a week here, just enjoy, the beach and the food and all that other stuff. And then or no, the day before I got there, my wife's like, there's a PGA golf tournament going on here this weekend, and I had no idea. So I was like, because I'm okay with golf, but like I'm not a huge fan. But I flew out there, and I knew like the first day I was going to be there that my wife was going to be busy, so I was going to be left to my own devices. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to this golf tournament. Bought a cheap ticket. There was like a deal there, and so I went there, had a nice afternoon, and then wrote about it. So yeah, that's definitely something I've done. I do a lot of travel for sports. You just don't, that's nothing to do with sports. You know,
Yeah.
wind up not writing about it. So
Ah, okay. Yeah, for sure.
Props to your wife for letting her husband go to a sporting event on their vacation.
she was busy. She This was a business trip for her. She was part of a project,
Ah, gotcha.
so she was busy. So I had to find a way to entertain myself for the day, and that's what I chose to do.
That's really cool. Okay, so when you go on these trips, coffee or tea?
Let's see. I would have absolutely said tea, but like I'm starting to go a little bit more coffee these days. Like I'm
Oh
Wow.
man.
It's never too late to come to the dark side, Ed.
no,
Never.
I used to be like hardcore about trying to stay away from caffeine, because I just like the way if you stay away from caffeine long enough, like, and then you splurge, like it makes you feel terrible. So like,
Hmm.
I've tried to stay away, but more and more these days, I'm like, you know what? I'll just have a little bit, and I'll just have a little bit more, and so like now
This.
I'm starting to get into. I'm starting to get a little more into coffee, and it keeps me, and I do appreciate the benefits in that it like just kind of keeps you going. You get that little extra
Yeah,
push to get you across the finish line sometimes. So, but in
I love
moderation.
it.
Did you hop onto coffee like cold turkey, or you kind of moderately throughout the path?
Very, yeah, very like dip a toe into the water sort of thing. Like I'll just have like, and start off with like that really sugary stuff that you get at like
Hmm.
Starbucks coffee bean or whatever, and then like, but now I'm starting to get okay. I've started hanging out with enough people like, no, you got to pay attention to where the beans are coming from, and also so I'm like, okay, fine, like I'll listen to you.
Dang.
So yeah, I'm starting to get into that world a little bit.
Okay.
No,
You would have loved Bali then, where I was a few months ago, where I was like literally beans. But then I also went to a local soccer game, which was so cool. And Ed and I chatted about that in the Instagram DMs for a hot second because it was like a last minute invite for me. And I sat VIP seats, which literally there was no difference. Like the seats were yellow and the regular seats were red. I'm like, what's so VIP about these seats? But the energy was so insane, and there was only one Balinese person on the team, or it was Bali
Wow,
United, which is crazy. I know it's a little like, I don't know if it's sad, but everyone else was a foreigner or from a different island in Indonesia.
gotcha.
Mhm.
Ed, you just recently took a trip to London and you got to see one of the biggest football franchises, right?
Three of them actually.
Three of them.
Yeah,
What?
to the point to try to squeeze as many as I could into this 2 week time frame. And
Nice.
at the start of the season, they were only playing on the weekends, so I was going to be there for 2 weekends. So I knew that I had only had Um, that's the Saturday and Sunday of the first weekend, and then the Saturday of the second weekend. So I just chose what was available to me. So I got to see Tottenham Hotspur, and then went
Nice.
up to Manchester the next day to see Manchester United, and then Arsenal the following weekend. So I got three out of
Wow.
what they call, I guess, in the Premier League they have the big six,
Hmm.
the more important. So I got three of them. Um, I didn't
It's a
get.
lot of check boxes.
Yeah, and I don't want to, like, I'm not necessarily, motivated by like, the big clubs, because there are plenty of other um teams and stadiums, or grounds as they call it in England, worth seeing. It's just again, it's like content. So, like, I
Hmm.
know
Hmm.
that people will want to read about going to see Manchester United or Arsenal. So I made it a point to try to prioritize that. And the stars kind of aligned, in that I would see those. Um, had they not aligned, then I would have tried to make the best of it, and go see whatever was available. But those two really worked out, so I was really happy about that.
So I have a question about that. When you write about international things, I'm assuming that most of your audience is American or North American. So when you write about, because the Premier League is like, soccer was invented in England, right? Football, excuse me, for those listening, football, soccer was invented in England. It's massive. They take it very seriously over there. Do you write it in the lens of like, this is how to get to a Man U game as an American, or like what to expect as an American at like a man? Were you at Man U or Man City? I can't.
But Man United,
Uh,
yeah.
okay, yeah. So, do you title it that way and make it very specific, or is it like the information applicable to everyone? Because I can imagine, as a maybe like not necessarily a local, like a Londoner, but someone from a different part of England would probably have a different experience than someone, say, from like California.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, definitely, from an American point of view, because I'm an American, so I try to make no bones about that. But maybe a little broader than that, and just say that you're a visitor, because yeah, if you're a diehard fan, you'll know a lot of things that I won't know, and that's, I'm not going to sit here and try to claim that I know things that the diehard fan of a team would know. But
Mhm.
yeah, I try to make it appeal to visitors. Like,
Okay.
I make it a point. So if you're an American, and I maybe don't explicitly write that, but I do say, like, if you're visiting Manchester, or if you're visiting England, um, then this is what you might want to know. Um,
Okay.
because I think, like, if take me, I'm a huge LA Kings fan, as you know. I don't really write for diehard fans, because they of a certain team anyway, because I expect them to know more than I do. So
Mm,
they don't need a guide to tell them how to get around their favorite venues. So
Right.
how to see their favorite team play, at least if they've been there hundreds of times. Because the point I was making, as a Kings fan, I know that Staples Center, or now Crypto.com Arena, I know that arena back and forth. Like, I know where all the exits are and all that stuff, because I've been there so many times. So I don't need. I'm not going to read a site like mine to figure out what the best thing to do is there. But if you've never been there before, and you don't live in LA, and you want to plan a trip, because for some reason you're a huge Kings fan, but you live somewhere else, and you've decided, this is the year I'm going to go to Los Angeles. I'm going to go see the Kings for the first time. I need to know what I need to do to make this, like, the best experience. That's where I come in. That's where I'm trying to fulfill people's expectations on. So that's what
love it.
I try to inspire people. Like, hopefully, if they read my site, they're even more inspired to go, I'm going to make this trip. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
and so if I achieve that, then I feel like I've done my job.
Yeah. Everybody always needs that extra push, like your coffee does to you. Going to a sports game in general is usually very expensive. I mean, if you catch like the major teams,
Yeah.
Lakers, even though they're not doing that great, still an expensive ticket, right? So what tips or any advice do you have on to make these traveling for sport games affordable for people?
Yeah, so I have a few. One thing, a lot of people get caught up in wanting to see like good games or like the best, championship games or like playoff games or that sort of thing. I tend to stay away from that. Get your run of the mill, middle of the regular season sort of game that like not a lot of people are like, so that lowers the demand and thus lowers the price of tickets. Also lowers the price of hotels and things around town because usually hotels are savvy enough to jack up their rates when there's a big event going on, so you avoid that too. Second, for tickets, I try to buy as early as possible. That's what I did for these matches in England. Go through the team. You can also do things like mine social media for like discount codes and things like that, depending on the team and the demand. You can usually find deals or like pre-sale codes, like that sort of thing to get different discounts on tickets and things like that. Go buy as early as possible. Like
Mhm.
I look for like on sale dates, especially like in the NFL, for example. They usually the schedule's released in April, and so somewhere around May or somewhere around there, they'll start putting on sale dates on there. So if you're able to buy at face value, you can avoid the whole, having to buy on the secondary market, and usually the rates are expensive. Same thing for hotels. When leagues put out schedules, I'll look at that right away and go, okay, I think I'm going to try to go to this, and this, and
Nice.
I'll reserve a hotel immediately, and make sure it's refundable. Make sure
Yeah.
I cancel it by a certain time. So and just so that I lock in a rate before they get wise to it and go, oh, there's a big event going on this weekend. I mean, we're going to make the rates much more expensive for that weekend. So and then if it falls through, I cancel it. So like when the baseball schedule came out a couple months ago, I identified an opportunity to go to Minneapolis. So in April. So I already made my hotel reservation for that.
Nice.
Just because I don't even 100% know if I'm going on this trip yet,
Right.
but I made the hotel reservation because I was able to find a cheap one. So that's
Mhm.
advanced planning is like your friend. Like I think that's the case in a lot of different aspects of travel, but in sports definitely.
Yeah, that's so key. And what I just learned too, for anybody, if it's concerts or if it's for events, Ticketmaster is partnered with Delta. So you can link up your
Ooh.
Ticketmaster account and start earning Delta points with it for every dollar you spend.
I actually did not know that. That's a great tip. I'm gonna find.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to link
I
it
did
up.
not know that either. Yo, why
Yeah,
is Delta everyone's
Delta's
partner?
running it. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm a big fan of Delta. Delta, if you hear this, I've always been a fan of you. Always. Since 2013 at least.
I believe Delta's partnered with Lyft too. You can get like
Yeah.
points.
Lyft
Yeah.
Hmm.
and Starbucks recent as of last week.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a big one.
Should we go down the
Get you
list again? Airbnb, Turo. Those are really great tips,
Mhm.
and I've experienced yeah, I don't think I've really gone to any playoff games and things like that, but when I do go, I love to do the suites. So how do you feel about suites?
So I used to be kind of hardcore about like, no, I'm not fancy. Like I don't want to be, you know, those are for people who are like not serious about the game and they
Me?
just want to be for the experience. No, no,
Me?
like
I
yeah.
go party in the suites. I don't pay
So
attention to the game when I'm in a
right.
suite.
So I used to, I mean, but that's kind of gatekeeping, right? That's kind of like, being snobby about the experience. And I get,
Mhm.
come to understand that like people ultimately people go to these things to be entertained. And
Mhm.
how what that looks like to people is different
Mhm.
for everybody.
Very true.
So
Yep.
so recently or last season I went to a Kings game in the suite. And it was actually not the suite. It was like kind of like the club level, like it was called the Hyatt
Mm.
lounge area. So
Right.
so I
Mhm.
sat with five friends on a couch watching this. First time I ever watched a live
Whoa.
from a couch. Uh, and we drank a lot. We spent a lot of money on food and alcohol and all that. And I don't remember that the Kings lost by 6 goals because I had such a good time. Um, and with hanging out with my friends and
The whole
drinking
experience.
drinking a lot, yeah, and feeling like
Mhm.
feeling like I did, it was like a special experience, like
Yeah.
that I know I'm not going to do very often, but if I'm going to do it, then I'm going to go all out and splurge. And like, frankly, if you do something like that and you sit there for 3 hours zoned in on watching the game, you're not really getting the most out of the thing that you just spent a ton of money on. So you should not be paying attention to the game all the time. You should be walking around and experiencing like the club level stuff. You should be like buying a lot of alcohol and food and stuff like that and enjoying everything that's there to offer. So it isn't
I
all about.
love that mentality because now you're also speaking to the people who go to games for the atmosphere. Like, how many people were at your birthday for the Sparks, Trizzy? Because
It
they
was a
just
whole
like
crew.
wanted to be in the suite and eat
Exactly.
nachos, right?
Yeah,
Like
it was a whole crew.
now you're reaching all sides of the spectrum
Definitely.
here with like
Yeah, and just FYI, the WNBA LA Sparks, their suite tickets are very, very cheap and affordable. So I suggest you guys look into that and support the WNBA. If not, regular season tickets, regular seat tickets are affordable as well. So don't forget to support female athletes as well.
heck
Yeah,
yes.
I like the Sparks experience. They do a good job. What I've really heard, if you've ever been to Vegas to do the Aces, I haven't seen the Aces yet.
Dude, I went
Didn't you
this
just do
year.
that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just did that. It was Sue Bird's last regular season game, and so I
Okay.
had to catch her in the Vegas game. And Vegas, if you think LA Sparks is fun, Vegas is
my God.
another
That's what
level.
I've heard. Yeah.
It's so fun, and their attendance, they always like just keep breaking their own records in every single game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Helps that they win like crazy.
Yeah, they got
Wow.
a squad there for sure.
Ed, I have a question. Are you a big like sports book, like casino watching sports bar fan as well? Like if you don't go to the games, or do you like to watch from the comfort of your home?
Well, if I'm in Vegas, I'll do that. Yeah, I've spent time in Vegas just like watching like an NFL Sunday from a sports book, and I'm not a huge gambler at all, but I do think that's an experience. I think that's also
Mhm.
I also think that's something that you should do before Vegas got an NFL team. I always said if you're not going to be at a game on an NFL day, you should go to Vegas and like just because you'll see all sorts of people and wearing their jerseys and stuff like that, and they're just hanging out at the
Mhm.
sports books. I don't think you even have to bet to have a good time. Yeah,
No.
you just
Mm-mm.
you sit there watching, you know, 12 screens with
Mhm.
all sorts of stuff on there, and you know, get drinks and some food every once in a while, and and to me and one of the things I haven't done is March Madness, the NCAA basketball
Oh.
tournament from the sports book, because I hear that is like the ultimate experience at
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
sports book. So yeah, I mean that's kind of all. It I know people have some people have reservations about gambling, but like to me that's like kind of a quintessential sports experience because you're gathering with a bunch of people, strangers, and like kind of commiserating over this shared experience. So that's kind of the spirit of what I try to do, and I mean, again, if you're not going to watch a game live, then this is probably the next best thing.
Mhm. Yeah, that's part of another like atmosphere. I think the sporting atmosphere in general is just so like exciting to me. I rather do that than go to the Las Vegas clubs. So
For sure. And that's why I always tell people, like, even if you don't go to an event, just like watching how a city reacts to
Oh
things
yeah.
going on, like if there's a championship event or something like that, just watching a city go bananas over it is kind of a cool travel experience in itself. So, I mean, timing it, yeah, I don't think too many people time their trips around sports if they're not actually going to see something. But, like being in a country that happens to be playing in the World Cup final or something like that. Like, just being a part of that and watching the city and all that, just,
So good.
how it changes. Yeah, it's just to me, it's a cool travel experience that I think people can experience and appreciate even if they don't care about sports.
I'm actually gonna be going to Doha, Qatar next
Oh,
week
Oh
for
really?
yeah. Oh
for a
my
layover.
gosh.
And I'm super excited just to see how the city is like the town is like the country.
You're gonna be there
So
right before the
right
World Cup
before it.
starts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh. That's
Yeah.
gonna be
That should be
wild.
amazing. Yeah.
Ed,
Yeah.
who are your teams in the World Cup?
Well, I mean, obviously I like to see the U.S. do well. But I don't know. I don't know if I have a team that I want to see like
Oh,
actually
yeah.
win the whole thing. I just think, I just wanted to see a good tournament, and see some of the stars do well. Like I have a friend who's Argentinian, so he wants to see Messi win and Argentina win. So like, um, you
That was
know,
my costume we're filming this the day after Halloween, and my costume last night, I was just an Argentine national footballer because I was already wearing the jacket all day. So I was like, yeah, and World Cup is always good with like the what are they called? Not the blowouts, but like when the underdog wins, or you know what I mean?
upsets.
Yes, the upset. I'm like, what is that called? The upsets. It's always fun to see those.
Yeah.
A few years back when Los Angeles hosted the NBA All-Star game around the city, oh my gosh, it was so fun. I got to go to a few All-Star events and bumped into Horace Grant. So you get to see the stars kind of come out to those daytime events, not even just nighttime events. So I love big events outside of the game sometimes. So, and also with these big events, especially in major cities, in New York, LA, Las Vegas, you come across a lot of heavy traffic, whether it be foot traffic or just cars. What tips do you have for people going to games, for them to make it on time and not to like miss first quarter or like the first half or stuff like that?
Well, my first tip is never drive.
Oh,
If you can avoid it, if you can avoid it. I mean, some places are kind of you have to, but I try never to drive. Part of it is like wanting to be on a budget, and parking tends to be a major expense for people. But um, you know, planning is a big thing. So it's funny you mentioned that because in Manchester we nearly missed the kickoff of that match because we were running late. Because we were trying to get from London to Manchester that morning. Uh,
oof, yeah.
and for some, they happen to have train strikes over the summer. I'm sure
Oh,
everyone heard about that. And like, so the we were going to leave on an 8 a.m. train, and it's a 3 hour ride, and they canceled the train we were supposed to be on.
ooh.
So um, actually, let me take that back. They didn't cancel the train we were supposed to be on. They canceled the train right before it. So all of those
Oh,
people had to um jam onto the train we were on, and it turned out to be first come, first serve. And we were not we were near the back.
prioritized.
Yeah. And so we wound up not getting on that train because it was too crowded. But the
Wow.
second one was still crowded, and we ended up sitting like in the vestibule and all this other stuff. So like, so we got there an hour later than we wanted to. And so we still had to drop our stuff off at the hotel. So we did that. And then in the end, we were scrambling. We had less than an hour to get to Old Trafford, which was only about 2 miles outside of downtown or the city center of Manchester. But so we ended up taking a cab, and the cab dropped us off right before about half a mile away, when we were able to walk up and still experience everything we wanted to experience. But that wasn't ideal. So we had a little curveball thrown at us, and so at some point you start saying, okay, what's more important to me, like saving money or getting to the match on time? And so we said you'll spend the extra to get to the match on time. But yeah, we try to rely on public transit really. And I think especially if you're this isn't hard for people who are like want the experience of going to a stadium or seeing a game for the first time. um, they get there early. So that's why I make it a point to get there as early as I can, and just kind of walk around and experience the whole thing. So pretty basic, but like, I think that's, it's like going to any other tourist attraction. Like you can go at a time that's super busy and wait in a big line, or you can if it's really that important to you, you can find another time that works better for you to accomplish what you want to accomplish, and so people will go early in the morning or whatever. So getting there as early as possible and not doing what I did and trying to get to the city the day of the match is those are probably the best tips I can give.
That's cool. Yeah, I know SoFi Stadium, the Pink Line or the K Line, the metro has opened up in Inglewood. It doesn't go all the way to LAX just yet, but know that it is operating and it gets you close enough to the SoFi Stadium.
That's great. Great to hear.
hmm I seen that running and I was like, oh, let me try that one day because I know
Yeah.
SoFi Stadium parking is like $100, which is
Yeah,
Oh
it's
crazy.
yeah. My brother-in-law just went to a game, the Niners game the other day, and it was like $90. Actually, for LA locals, I'm going to see Lizzo at the Forum, which I heard is across from SoFi. And like I live very far. So do you have any tips for me on parking at the Forum for Lizzo concert that starts at like 6 p.m. on a Friday? On a Friday.
the forum isn't quite, I mean, because it holds like, only about the fifth the capacity of SoFi Stadium, so you're probably not
Okay.
gonna get a ton of traffic. But I have gone to a couple concerts at the forum, and you just kind of want to avoid Prairie Avenue, which is the main drag that goes up there, because
Okay.
that gets kind of jammed with people. But if you kind of approach from a different direction, like Manchester
Mhm.
from the east, or Crenshaw's the kind of the next north south street over. So if you want to like exit there and come up that way,
Perfect.
kind of avoid Prairie,
Just
at all costs.
avoid Prairie. Okay, for all you LA locals or Forum goers that are coming out soon. Hot tip. No, that's so key because I've never been to a show at the Forum, so thank you.
I parked there once and it wasn't as bad as I thought. They actually have a better parking system than SoFi right now because I think
SoFi,
SoFi
okay.
is just kind of figuring
Figuring
themselves
stuff
out.
out. Yep, for
So
sure, for
yeah,
I like
sure.
the
but
farm for concerts. Yeah,
mhm,
you'll
Okay.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
I'm
too bad.
excited. What is the hardest question you've ever gotten from someone?
about travel, or period.
Here, I mean, like about what about your content, about travel, about traveling for sports.
um I don't know. That's an interesting question, because
I mean, maybe there hasn't been a hard one yet.
maybe, yeah, I don't know. There's been a hard one. I think there's been one, maybe about things that I actually haven't done.
Oh yeah, that
Um,
makes sense. Yeah.
or things that maybe I want to do. Because I get a lot of questions I get, and a lot of people who read my site are like aspirational, like wanting to say, and I actually got this question the other day, like someone who wants to go see every major league ballpark in one season, or every,
One season.
yeah, all 30 of them, yeah, or they want to do, some sort of like long, really that's beyond the parameters like what I can do in with everything that's going on in my life. So it's not something I've ever experienced. So
Mhm,
yeah, something like that. Like, I'm truthful with them. I say, like, I've never done anything like that, but
mhm,
but I'll tell you that I would love to, and here's what I would do if I went about it. And I always try to give everyone the caveat of, like, I've never actually done this, or this is my experience, your experience might be different. Like, and just say,
mhm,
like, you know, all of this is kind of part of the journey. Like, you kind of have to take everything I tell you with a grain of salt, and like kind of tailor it to your own desires and tastes and experiences and wants. And um if I tell you, well, I think you should rent an RV and try to do this all in a month to save money or whatever, like, that might be useful advice to you, or you might say, I don't want to do that, I want to spend 6 months doing it, and go to 3 or 4 places, come back home, go to 3 or 4 more places, come back home, and all that. So, but as long as I think as long as I can give you sort of useful advice, or like, things that maybe you weren't thinking of before, based on the experiences I've had, then I think it could still be useful to people. So, I guess that's how I would approach it. Travel can be all sorts of different things to all sorts of different people. I think, like, all advice is helpful, but in the end, you know what you like.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. One more question before the T2A Q2A. With all the stadium and all the arenas that you've been to, which one has your favorite foods?
Oh boy, that's a good one. So baseball tends to have the best food because what I like, but I should say baseball tends to have the best food, but all the other leagues are catching up. Like it's a, I think most stadiums have realized like the food is a big attraction to people, so they try to make sure that like
Mhm.
they step up their game. Because I've been to arenas where the food is just awful, and they'll come back 3 or 4 years later and like, oh, this wasn't here before. This is actually pretty good, you know. So you can still tell everyone's kind of stepping up their game.
Have you been to Bank of California yet?
I have not been there. I have not been
Oh,
there.
it's like LA through or Southern California through and through, Mexican and Korean food, lots of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard I keep hearing from people that the experience is good. I was
It
really bummed
is.
out 'cause, someone invited me to an Angel City match, over the summer, and I couldn't go. I was really bummed out.
Oh.
Yeah, next season, hopefully. Either LAFC or Angel City, one of those 2. Um,
Mhm.
but anyway, yeah, I think, like, um, one of my favorite things to do is to just walk around a stadium looking at all the different concession stands to see what they've got. And I try to, I'm one of those like kind of food snobs in that if I'm visiting someplace, I try to get food that I can't easily get back home.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or that's like, something that's like some unique to the experience of that particular city. And more stadiums are doing a good job of like representing that. Um, so um, I was just in Cincinnati, and Cincinnati is a pretty interesting and somewhat unique food um, scene. So like the Bengals stadium, which I went and saw the Bengals there. So I made sure like you know that they have like hot dogs there, but they also have something called a MET, which is a different type of sausage. And I was like, I'm like, I'm not really into hot dogs in general, but I was like, I'm gonna get this. And I was like, this is slightly elevated over hot dogs, but it's like pretty good, and I can now say I had a Met, right? Like, so I try to find like little experiences like that. Ballparks tend to have really good like, City Field in New York, they have like all sorts of like great food experiences there. Like, I mean, they had Shake Shack before Shake Shack was like super popular.
Nice.
They had
Wow.
they have like, gourmet burgers there, and like lobster rolls, and risotto balls, and like this sort of like fancy stuff that you wouldn't expect to find at a stadium. So like I like to find experiences like that. The ballpark in San Francisco, Oracle Park, has like they
Nice.
also have like crab rolls and like a jerk chicken
Ooh,
ball. And,
yum.
and I even found a Filipino food stand there. If you ever go to a Giants game, they had a Filipino food stand.
Is it Syrup Shop?
No, it wasn't
Oh.
that, but
Oh, Syrup
I
Shop at
believe
Chase Center. Is that Chase Center?
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
up north.
but I believe they had some relation to it. It wasn't advertised as that,
Oh,
I
yeah.
believe the people behind that had some sort of relation to the stand. But it had lumpia, and what else did they
Yum.
have? Like but it said like the stand, like it said, for people who don't know what lumpia is, like it said like, Filipino egg rolls or something like
Yeah.
that. Hard to say, like if I had to narrow it down to just one, like that's I have to go through.
Yeah, I figured it's tough. But cool, they sound all great, and I am hungry, so I'm
Mhm.
about to take a big old bite after this interview. So we're gonna jump into the T2A, Q2A, the ticket to anywhere quick to answer segment. 4 questions in the first one. What is your ritual routine upon arriving in any city, any country?
Take a picture.
Okay.
Like just the very first thing I find that is like that screams out the place I'm at. Sometimes that's at the airport. Sometimes you have to leave the airport to do that, or sometimes you have to,
Mhm.
get into the city. I like snapping pictures out of my hotel room or wherever I'm staying, just to like see, um, just to get that like unique picture. But I always like try to get that like thing that like screams I'm someplace new.
Yeah.
And so I feel like picture taking is the new souvenir buying. Like I feel like people buy, and I certainly buy fewer souvenirs these days because I feel like pictures are the new souvenir. Back when you had to do everything with your camera, and you weren't sure what picture you were getting, you had to buy things to make sure you had some sort of proper representation, just in case like your roll of film blew up or something like that. But
Mhm.
now that you can take like 500 pictures with no restrictions, I feel like those are your memories, and so people are less apt to buy souvenirs, and that's how I feel about it. So like I like take pictures as quickly as I can.
Love it. All right. What else are you besides an itinerant fan?
Let's say just talking about food, I like to do the food thing. Like I try to as I said, try to find unique food experiences there. I'm a hockey player. And a big hockey fan. I mean, beyond being a fan of the team, I actually play in a league. We call it beer league because there's a bunch of like older people. It's co-ed. So there's some women there, but it's mostly uh, guys who were probably athletes a long time ago and trying to relive those glory days. So I play. I used to play the guitar a lot, not so much anymore. But I'm trying to get back into it. And I'm a dad to a little 7-year-old scamp who keeps me on my toes, and I'm trying to get her more into traveling and seeing different stadiums. So I've got her. So she's becoming more and more of a travel partner for me.
That's awesome.
Love
Cool.
it.
So, with that said, why do you travel?
Because I think the seeing being in your own city all the time is really boring, and want to be able to experience new things. I mean, if you're a big sports fan, you see a lot of you see a lot of games on TV that are taking place other places, and when they during those broadcasts, they always show part of the city. um they'll show like scenic shots, or like if a game is in Seattle, they'll always show Pike Place Market and people throwing fish and all that other stuff. And like it's kind of, if you think about it, a sporting event in the city is kind of a 3-hour advertisement for tourism in that city, because they always show like aspects of that city. And if you have any sort of wanderlust at all, you'll watch those and go, oh, that looks pretty cool, I should see what it's like in that city. So there are numerous cities in the United States I've wouldn't have bothered to go to if it weren't for the fact that there's a sports team there. Um, so I'm grateful for that experience, and then it's become more of like wanting to see more of the world because of that. And so like uh, it gets me out of the couch, off my out of the house, and motivates me to go see more of the world, because I just think like I mean, it's just life is just richer that way.
I love that. Awesome, Ed. Last question is a yes or no question, rapid fire, and then please let everyone know where they can find you. Will you wake up at 2 a.m. to watch any of the World Cup games this month?
Absolutely.
Ah, 2 a.m. Dang.
Yes.
Please record them for us.
I'll recap it for everybody.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And please let everyone know where to find you.
So my site is itinerantfan.com. I'll spell that itinerantfan.com. And I have social media handles with that in several different places. Most active on Instagram, trying to do the TikTok thing. Those are the main two right now. And I used to have a Twitter account, but I'm not really that active on there anymore. As different platforms go, like I try to concentrate on one. So like Instagram's probably the main one. And then I'm starting to migrate a little bit, but no matter what the platform is, the handle is Itinerant Fan.
Thank you, Ed, for your inspiration in traveling and going to sporting events. Till the next time. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Ticket to Anywhere podcast. Don't forget to connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. If you love travel as much as we do, hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, as well as anywhere you listen to podcasts such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Pocket Casts. Thank you all for your support so far. When you have the time, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love to hear your thoughts and feedback, and it'll help others come across our episodes and hopefully be inspired to travel and adventure anywhere.